let's do it. Game number 5 of the Lichess.org 45-45 League game reviews. Board 5, game of the season number 13. Let's do it. French defense, knight of 6, e5, knight of d7, bishop d3, c5, c3, knight c6. I've played this opening for a while, and this move is not the main move here. The problem is the knight is just not as well placed. Usually this other guy, this knight on d2, likes to go there. So I would recommend you to look into knight e2 here, the main move, which is considered to be, I think, a little bit better. But you had something specific in mind. You want to play this pawn sacrifice, I guess, even though I'm not sure how promising it is. Yes, that's very common in the French to sacrifice a pawn like that, but yeah, I don't think it gives white an advantage. Okay, bishop e7 was played here. Another move is queen to b4. But okay, bishop e7 is fine. Bishop to e3. And here though you play a mistake. Queen back to d8. Yes, the queen is safe there, but there's a problem that white can swing over with his queen to g4. So you want to stop that by playing either queen b4 or probably just pick up another pawn. Just pick up another one. Rook a b1, queen a3, queen c2 for example. And yes, of course, white is compensation for the pawn, but I don't think more than that, or for the 2 pawns I should say, but probably not more than that. So you should go either in this direction or play queen b4 here when white goes queen c2 and then go from there. Okay. The problem of queen d8 is that now queen g4 is strong and you're having some issues with this pawn g7 as so often in the French. Castle is the move you want to play, but then again you don't want to play because you lose the exchange here due to bishop h6. And after g6 there's also bishop h6, and the problem is you won't get away with your king that easily anymore, and white is ready to use the c file here for his pieces and has nice compensation. Same is true after king f8, another way to defend the pawn, but yes, white has good compensation here because your king will be stuck in the center and it will be much more difficult to finish your development. Alright, so white missed that, didn't play queen g4, played rook ac1, and now everything's fine. You can just castle and everything's cool. Queen g4, f5. Yeah, I like f5, that's a good move. Queen to h5. Okay. g6, queen h6, rook f7, bishop to g5. Okay, this is an interesting moment. You play bishop to f8, and that's an inaccuracy, you could say. I think you could just play b6 here. Just develop this guy on c8. Maybe you're afraid of bishop takes e7, but you have a nice counter here. Okay, rook takes e7 would be possible to begin with, but queen takes e7 is even stronger because white doesn't have knight g5. Since you can respond with knight takes e5, it's very nice. Knight takes f7, knight takes d3. Looks surprising at first, but it works. Rook c3, queen takes, and bishop a6, winning back the exchange, and you'll emerge with 2 extra pawns in the center. That's nice. Okay, so this would have been better than bishop f8 because here white has a little tactic. You're attacking the queen, white is attacking the queen. So in these kind of setups, usually what you can have is like a desperado. Just taking as much as possible before leaving the board. So in this case, queen takes h7 or queen takes g6 would be a desperado. Take on g6, grab one more pawn, and then take on d8. And this works because the black queen is not defended. So white is actually able to regain the pawn here. And it's actually better, a little bit, I would say. Knight g5 in the air, white is having the better development, has the c file. So white is doing well here. And this was a missed chance for you, Lekin Veka. Maybe there's a different pronunciation. I don't know. Okay, we'll just go with it. All right, queen h4 was played, queen e8, bishop b5, a6, bishop takes d7, bishop takes d7. Yeah, rook c7 I'm not a big fan of, because you're just helping black pretty much here. Rook c3 looks sensible. Also maybe sometimes you can swing over here and trying to double. Black probably goes rook c8, rook c1, rook takes. Now notice the difference. In the game you exchange a rook against this guy on f7. This guy on f7 is kind of stuck there. Okay, so you're exchanging like a stuck rook, passive rook against one of your active rooks. So this is not what you want to do. This makes more sense with the rook now unopposed on the c file, and you have counterplay or compensation on the dark squares, and this is fairly unclear, I would say. In the game of the rook c7, bishop c6 was played. This is a decent move. Even better would have been to go h6. The point is that white cannot take because of rook h7, winning a piece. And if bishop f6, let's say, that makes sense, right? Now bishop b5, hitting this guy, rook takes, king takes, rook c1, and now just rook c8 and trading more pieces. And like I said, black is getting rid of this passive rook on f7, also, yeah, improved his pawn structure here, covering g5. This is important as well. So this is pretty decent for black. Knight g5, by the way, can be just answered for king g8 and nothing further happening. Okay, let's see the game. Bishop to c6, rook f7, queen f7, rook to c1, bishop g7. Yeah, this move does not do that much for you. The bishop is not better placed on g7 than on f8. Actually the opposite. On f8 it's better placed, because on g7 it's just biting on this pawn. You're not going to win this pawn, so there's no real upside to this move. Just rook c8 instead would be a natural continuation here. Another problem is that you're making it easier for white to trade the dark square bishops, and you want to keep your dark square bishops because you're pre-exposed on the dark squares, right? So here white could have actually gone either bishop h6 or bishop f6 to trade the bishops, try to trade them, and then white has good compensation because look at this, all your pawns on the light squares. So consequently, your dark squares are weakened, and white can make use of that with his knight. Okay, queen f4. White did not trade bishops. Once again, here bishop h6 would be the way to go to get better access to the dark squares. In general, if you're playing against a bishop pair and you have a bishop and a knight, what you want to do, you want to trade the bishops. That is, the bishops of the same color here, in this case the dark square bishops. So you split the bishop pair and you can play on the opposite color of the remaining bishop. In this case it would be the dark squares, as this is the light square bishop. Knight d4, now bishop to d7, queen, no, takes, queen e3, again bishop h6, again same story. Once again, try to trade these bishops off, and you have full compensation here. It will be very tough for black to challenge this knight on d4. The knight is perfectly placed, also hitting this weakness on e6, so this should be equal. Queen e3, queen c7, going after this pawn, and f4 is a mistake now. The problem with f4 is that it's severely weakening your king, plus it's also somewhat shutting out the bishop on g5. So knight f3 was necessary to defend the pawn in this manner. And yes, black is better here, clearly better, but you're still playing and you're still fighting, and the game is far from over. Also after f4, of course the game is not over yet, but it just became much more difficult because your king is more vulnerable here. Now, for example, this diagonal is more open for the black pieces. And now you make another mistake, you go knight b3, you had to bring the bishop back as quickly as possible, bring it back to f2, and yeah, this position will be tough to defend, but maybe you can somehow set up a fortress, try to hold with the knight on d4, and just do the best you can. But this was the best you could do, because after knight b3, as you notice in the game, goes downhill really quickly. a5, good move to play a4, and already here I think there's not really any salvation. Queen c1, queen b6, king f1, and now there's an immediate attack here. Nothing to do now anymore anyway. Bishop h4 is now coming too late, one move too late. Before white plays bishop f2, bishop b5 check, queen coming in, and it's a checkmate already here on d3. So you see how quickly it went downhill, and I think the starting point was this move f4. And if we go back earlier, also that you didn't exchange the dark square bishops, because then this would not be that much of a deal. Okay, so let me see if there are any questions. All right. I looked into queen b4 before the game, says Robert, the black player, but didn't feel comfortable with the continuation. Okay, well, I would say maybe you can check this line some more with the computer and play around a little bit, and maybe practice in some blitz games as well, and see if you feel more comfortable, or choose a different line.